Okay, welcome back. This is lesson 2. I'm switching to a different sketch program, and hopefully it will be a little bit more responsive. It won't be a ton more responsive because this video recording slows it down, but we're going to get through this. So, last lesson we covered subject and predicate and what a sentence needs. What does a sentence need? Think about it for a sec. 3 things. Subject, predicate, and complete thought. Okay, we went through a very simple sentence, just 2 words, and then we added 2 more words called modifiers, an adjective and an adverb, to make it a little bit more complicated. Let's go a little further with that. And we'll look at actually breaking a regular sentence down into a diagram. So we have this sentence here. The awfully disrespectful walrus never showed up. Okay, so what do we do first? First we draw our basic diagram. In as straight a line as we can make it. So, we've got our little cross-section here. Subject always goes on the left, and the predicate always goes on the right. Subject being the star of the sentence, the thing that does something, and the predicate being everything about what the subject does. So, we go back to the sentence. The awfully disrespectful walrus never showed up. What do we think is a star of that sentence? What's doing something? We can just look at the words here. Is it the? Probably not. Awfully? No. Awfully describes something, right? Disrespectful? No. Disrespectful is also another word that describes something. So these 3 are all modifiers. Walrus. That's a possibility. A walrus is a thing, right? It's a noun. Never. Never says when, so it's kind of an adverb. Showed is a verb. And then up tells you how he showed, which is an adverb. So I think we're right. Walrus is the subject. So we put walrus right here. And then we cross them off of our old sentence. This way we know what we've done and what we haven't done. It's amazing how many times I see people diagram a sentence and forget to cross off forget certain words that they just took for granted. So, what's next? We've got to figure out what he did. So we've already said that showed was the verb, right? So showed. How do we know that this works? Well, basically it works because this could be a sentence. Walrus showed. Doesn't mean much, but it means something, and it's a complete thought. However, it's not the complete thought that this sentence is trying to express. Why? Because of the modifiers. We need modifiers telling us, in fact, this almost says the opposite of the sentence without the extra words. So let's look at the verb first, because that's the most critical to the meaning of the sentence, is the modifiers in the verb. This word never. Never means he didn't show up. And he never showed up. So when did he show up? Adverbs tell you when. Among other things, they tell you when. So we put never hanging off of showed. Now the sentence actually means basically the same thing. Walrus never showed. The awfully disrespectful walrus never showed up. This is a little bit more like a children's novel or something where the animal is given its name almost like a proper noun, like A Day with Frog and Toad or something, or Rabbit Said to Pooh, whatever. But I digress. We've got rid of never. That's the critical adverb right there that gives us the meaning. And and I didn't cross off showed. So we've got another adverb right here, up. This is more of a figure of speech than anything else because it's not actually up, but it tells us he didn't show up. We hang that off as showed. We know we don't hang it off a walrus because up doesn't tell us anything about walrus, right? It's not an up walrus, and it's not a never walrus. Sometimes you can get a little confused by that, but you always break it down into what is being done and whether you're telling something about what he did or telling something about what he is. So then these three words tell us what he is. We'll go backwards. Need a nice long slant there. Oh, come on. Respect. Full. Well, you know what I mean. Disrespectful walrus never showed up is what we have now so far. Disrespectful is an adjective that tells you about walrus. What kind of walrus is he? He's a disrespectful walrus. And that's the worst kind. Except for there's a worse kind of walrus than a disrespectful walrus. There's an awfully disrespectful walrus. Now this gets a little bit tricky, so pay attention. This will continually throw you off until you really get the hang of it. The word awfully is an adverb. More important to think about is what does awfully tell you about? Could you say the awfully walrus? No, that doesn't make sense, right? Awful walrus makes sense, but awfully walrus doesn't make sense. However, think about this in terms of how much. He's disrespectful. How disrespectful is he? Awfully disrespectful. So when you have an adverb that's modifying an adjective, because you remember I said in the last lesson that adverbs modify adjectives, adverbs, and verbs. So they're three things. You have to tell what it's modifying, what it's telling you more about. And that's actually not that hard. You just hang another modifier off there. See, this way, this little line's telling you it's modifying disrespectful, not so much walrus. It's still attached to walrus, because disrespectful is, but it's telling you about disrespectful. One of those clues you can look for with adverbs is often they have that ly on there. A lot of times an adverb is just an adjective with ly stuck on. So we're almost done. Awfully disrespectful walrus never showed up. Now, there's another kind of adjective called an article. And it's a short little adjective and they're the most commonly used. And it's going back to that same purpose that we use adjectives for all the time. Which one? So, is it a walrus, which means any old walrus? An awfully disrespectful walrus never showed up? Like I was just sitting around waiting and hoping maybe some walrus would show up? No, it's the walrus. Meaning I'm speaking about a specific walrus that we've already discussed. Or maybe that's his title, the walrus, like the Lord High Executioner. But you treat it just like any other adjective, and you hang it off. The. These articles are the ones that people tend to forget when they're diagramming sentences. And they forget them because they don't cross them off, and they take them for granted. It's just like, oh, whatever, that's not even a real word. After a while, you start to see these, and you just see them as sentences themselves. But let's just review quickly what we looked at today. More of the same stuff. Subject, verb, or predicate. Well, this part is the verb. Everything over here is the predicate. Never adverb telling you when he showed up. Showed, and up telling you how he showed. He showed up, but he didn't show up because he never showed up. Adjective, disrespectful. What kind of walrus is he? Disrespectful. How disrespectful is he? You got your adverb here, awfully disrespectful, and then our old friend, the article, the. That's it for today.